Right now is the best time to buy land.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is when developers actually make their most money. Okay, so this is actually really interesting. Somebody wrote me a DM and said, I have difficulty trying to figure out this market. He's definitely not alone.
Surprise.
Yeah. Would you recommend I buy land? ? I don't want my money to sit in the bank, and I'm still in school. My money is just sitting in the bank. A little grammar issues there, but
yeah.
you know.
Did you ask him like how much he actually has?
No, I didn't ask him any context. I didn't ask him anything. So I'm not. I don't want to like spend too much time. Like I don't have like the time to start like really go back and forth. But yeah, it's a very confusing market right now. I really only see. There's really only like 3 options in my mind for
Actually, you made me think of another question that a friend asked me the other day that I was like, oh, I'll ask Dan his opinion.
Okay.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So there's really only 3. There's only really 3 options that I see right now.
Yeah.
Well, maybe 4. Number 1, you still buy real estate. And we've talked about, I've beaten this like a fucking dead horse here, where you still buy real estate in great locations that is stabilized and cash flows. That's your best option, no matter what market. You don't like overpay. You pay market. You don't, even if you're paying market, that's okay. You don't have to get a fire sale right now. Even if it dips down again, that's okay. It'll continue. Like you have to have long term on your mind. Okay, over the long term, you will make money in real estate, and it's for me, in my opinion, is by far the most stable. It's by far the most secure investment vehicle that you could ever be involved with. Number 2 is keep your cash on hand. I don't like this option as much, but if you have enough investment already, I think it might be advantageous to still have dry powder available in the event something actually does happen. But you also risk your ability to scale and make money in the interim, because it very well may not come to that point.
Yeah.
So you still do run the risk of the opportunity cost of not leveraging the capital that you have on hand. Yeah. So that's number 2. Number 3, he mentions land. Right now is the best time to buy land.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is when developers actually make their most money. It's not when they build their houses. It's not when
I actually didn't know this. This is very interesting.
So right now is by far the best time to buy land. The reason why it's the best time to buy land is because nobody's doing anything with land right now. If you look at a lot of developments are kind of drying up right now. A lot of
the demand is at its lowest.
Yeah, so it's at its lowest. Developers are shitting their pants right now. If you actually seen in like the GTA and a lot of even developments around here, they've actually been put on hold. Why would you want to, right now is the worst time. Think about this for a second. So all these economic cycles, right? Consider it I almost like to consider it like a block. Okay. So there's 4 periods of the economic cycle. Okay. So consider right now.
It's almost like there's a book written on this.
Yeah. Is there?
Mastering the Market Cycle. Literally fucking exactly what you're describing.
Is that actually?
Yeah. And it describes the different aspects of the markets and how people's sentiment in each market, how developers act in each market, the demand of each type of asset in each market. It's literally what you're fucking describing.
Oh, it's
super interesting, because the reason why it clicked for me, because I literally just referenced that a couple of days ago, because I was just wanting to kind of refresh my my memory on that topic. And you when you said the cycle, I was like, holy fuck, it's literally just
I had no idea that existed. Yeah. So anyways, right now consider we're in the downturn of a cycle, right? You never want to fucking develop in a downturn of a cycle. What you're doing when you develop is you're hedging your bets against the market moving or increasing in value. Well, what the fuck are you going to do that for right now? I'm not saying you can't do it, but at the end of the day, you never want to develop in a downturn of a market. You want to develop on the upswing of the market, right? So right now, there's people sitting on land that maybe they're hurting a little bit. Maybe they don't have the capital to sustain this downturn in the market, or they don't have the longevity to keep it on the sidelines. So right now, also property values are decreasing, right? If you have the available capital, land is a great time to buy right now. You put that in your back pocket, and when the market starts to turn around, that's when you start developing the land, because now you're developing it. Now you have the time to develop.
Yeah.
Right now the interest rates are high. It's not an optimal time to develop. So if this guy has a lot of money and there's available land to be purchased that is in the next phase or a current phase of development, that's another key thing too, right? You don't want to buy land that is not in a next phase of development, right? Like you can buy...
Yeah, explain what you mean by that.
So the municipalities have different types of zones where all of the fuck am I trying to say here? All of like the infrastructure is running in a certain either direction or already existing that they can branch off of or easily install. Okay, a lot of land, available land, is not in a developable zone or area. I don't know exactly what the terminology of what they call it is, but a lot of it is not in that area. Okay, that's one of the reasons why I sold the farmland that I had. Farmland is actually exploding in value. I sold that fucking farmland for like 4 times the price of what I paid for. I sold that shit for like, I bought that farmland for like, what the fuck did I buy that for? I'll tell you right now.
Wasn't it 10,000 and went up to 40,000?
I'll tell you right now. I want to do it like per acre. I bought it for $15,000 an acre and I sold it for 40,000 an acre within fucking, I don't even know, 2-3 years. So farmland is exploding in value, but that was also a really good location for farmland. It was like right on the cusp of being able to develop. Okay. So it is what it is. But you want to make sure that you're buying land
in like a path of growth.
Yeah.
area.
Unless you can sit on it for fucking 20 years.
Yeah.
Right. You know, can you sit on it for 20 years? Now, a lot of like Western Europeans came over here and that's what they did around here. That's why you see these guys, like these developers, their dads and their grandfather, like rich as fuck, because all they did was like, that was like the Western world's mentality. You want to get rich? Buy fucking land. So what happened? You got to think, like, you ever been over Europe? Mm-hmm. Okay. So you go over to Europe. What controls power? Like in Europe?
Literally
land ownership.
Yeah.
So when you own land, you become powerful. Well, they have that mentality. So when they came here, what did they do? They bought fucking land. Next thing you know, at the tail end of their career, they're starting to develop it, but now they got their kids involved, their grandkids involved, and then they're just like rich as fuck now, right? So they have this mentality of buying land. It was actually kind of funny because like Kanye West talks about this actually, like land ownership. He talks about like owning land, how important that is, instead of like material things. There's like a clip. Connor, throw it in here.
But yet we want to spend all of our money on foreigns. We want to spend all our money on luxury as opposed to going and buying some land. America is for sale.
So you want to make sure that if you do have available capital, that you're not. I wouldn't advise throwing it all in right now because again, I don't think that this lull in the market is gonna be a decade. But I don't know. I don't know. What the fuck do I know, right? At the end of the day, if it does take a decade, can you hold $1 million of non-income producing land? Can you do that? Because there are taxes, on agricultural land. It's not high, but there still are. The opportunity cost would be great. Like substantial, right? If things don't, start picking up soon, then you also have to consider too, you're not going to be the only savvy guy that understands this in the market, right? Like there's people out there still like accumulating land, like even me. Like what I'm doing though is I'm buying like available cash flowing land that has some sort of either business on it or building on it, that when the market turns, I will develop it, but I'm sitting on it. And right now, while I sit on it, it produces income for me so that in the future, when the market does, start its upswing, there's a windfall at the beginning of that. And I start developing it. And then at the end of it, I start selling things off.
For people that maybe haven't actually like looked into the details of buying land, let's say specifically in Windsor Essex area, what would you say is kind of like your minimum amount of capital required to get started in something?
Oh man, like 50%. And I have inquired about this, and typically the banks will want to see 50%, and they want to see you start
50%. What I know,
like loan to value.
Yeah,
50% loan to value. So say for example, if it's like $1 million plot of land, they want you to put down $500,000. So the leverage is shit, but they also want to see like they'll all only do it for like a year, So you have to have a game plan. It has to be ready. They won't finance the bank. Why would the banks ever finance farmland? Like, all you get for farmland is the farmer will pay your tax. That is it. So when I had my farmland, the farmer paid me a couple $100 a month. That's not covering the debt service on like that plot of land.
Right.
So you have to have deep pockets, right? When these guys
So this is not necessarily like a beginner strategy.
No, it's not at all. That's why I'm saying, like, this is not a beginner's. Like, this is like, you either are a very seasoned developer or a very seasoned investor, and you have like a lot of money,
right,
to put down.
What would you say in terms of, like, let's say somebody is building a portfolio? What would you say, at what threshold would you say someone's ready to start acquiring land?
Oh, I don't think that it's like how much money they have,
and however you would determine that criteria.
I don't even know.
On a number of properties, maybe amount of cash flow per month.
I think I think it comes down to
net worth basis.
No, I don't think it comes down to that. I think it comes down to what your business plan is. Like, maybe you have so Coachwood Capital, we have a home building license. Like, that's a business. That's a business plan. Are we more focused on building homes, or are we more focused on the investment side of things? From our perspective, we're actually not focused on building homes yet. Right. We're more focused on scaling our portfolio in Coachwood Capital with existing stabilized properties. We're not focused on developing. I don't think it actually comes down to like whether or not you have enough money. I think it comes down to whether or not I think whether or not you decide to develop. I think it comes down to your market. I think it comes down to the economic market conditions that are currently at hand and what you foresee in the future, as well as your business goals. I don't think it necessarily has to do with, whether or not you have enough money, your net worth, because for developing, you don't necessarily have to. You can buy land if it's a good market. You can develop. You could build to suit. You could get plans drawn up where you have a good lot available for developing, and you could put up a mock-up home for sale, where a lot of that's what you're seeing right now. Before, when the market was on fire, people were developing homes and just fucking selling them. Now they were just building it to spec. Now it's like, hey, we have this lot. This is what your house could look like. You never saw that fucking 6 months ago.
Right.
They would just build your shit, or they would just build shit,
and it would sell.
And it would just fucking sell no matter what. Now they're building now you're seeing on the MLS, you're seeing homes that are like spec homes, or not spec homes, but like mock-ups of like what it could look like, potential floor plans. That's what you're seeing now. Because why are you seeing that? Because the market slowed down considerably, and developers or home builders don't want to build a fucking house like that where they have $1 million tied up and it doesn't sell, and it doesn't and it sits there. So this is why right now is not, when you start seeing shit like that, it's not the time. There's a reason why that's happening. It's not the time to build homes right now. If a year ago or 6 months ago, that was a time. But when you start seeing when you start going on MLS and you start seeing like, oh wow, this home is like available for like $1.5 million, but it's not built yet. Like, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Like that's not the time to start getting into like development.
Yeah.
Typically for residential, right? I'm not saying that. Right now, warehousing is a big shortage right now. If you can find warehouse land for, around, especially Essex County, I think that's actually a great buy right now. And I would develop warehousing now. That's something that I would actually get into right now. The economy is still kind of, struggling with, supply chain issues and, even logistics. So warehousing, I think, is a hot commodity right now. That's, if I were to get into something and maybe develop it, if you're looking for land development, I would get into developing like industrial or warehousing, warehousing.
So to take this full circle and kind of to directly answer this guy's question, what do you think about buying land in this market? Essentially, he's saying that he has some cash in the bank. Your advice is, if you're a beginner, no. But if you're a seasoned investor, or if you're a beginner, no, you'd want to be going back to the same thing that you always say, your income producing properties that are in good locations that are stabilized. Whereas if you are a seasoned investor, it's a great time to buy land.
Yeah, if you're a seasoned investor and have the money to hold it, for sure. Or you're in the construction industry, right? Mm-hmm. If you're in the construction industry and you got the cash and you don't want to necessarily be a landlord, and that, hey, when the market, and you're savvy enough to understand that this won't be forever, and you understand that the market will turn, and you have the building, the construction wherewithal to get things going as soon as things start changing, then that's a great buy for guys in the construction trades.